We're
Now you're
live
live.
on TV.
Friday, Friday, Friday. Friday before spring break.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
Will you be
Everybody's
flying down to Cancun for spring break and doing body shots off of a keg stand?
exactly what I was thinking of doing.
I'm so old, I don't even think I know how to spring break anymore.
Well, that would be a way.
I don't think I ever spring break, so I wouldn't even really know. I watched it from afar. Double Funnel TV,
Yeah,
though.
right.
Today, we're going to have Scott Schilling here, who has sold over $25 million in information products from the stage. Talk about how, in more detail, tactically, to sell from the stage.
Yay.
You've got that, right?
Sure. I've done it once or twice.
Sure.
I've done it once or twice. I think what was interesting is the when Sean was adding to the equation yesterday when he was talking about, because we
And
were
he
talking,
adds great things, too.
he does add great things, but he was adding one of the keys. People, I think that they have to change if they're selling from stage versus selling in person or selling one-on-one. And the reality is you're always selling one-on-one. There just happen to be more people observing it. So if you think, I mean, if you go into this going, I'm selling the room, that's actually not the correct mindset.
So what's the mindset? Tip number one.
Tip number one is, even when you're in a crowd, focus on one. Because the reality is the message that you're giving, you don't know which one out of the room, you don't know who the one is necessarily. And so if you stay too general, you're probably not going to hit the one. And if you don't engage, you're probably not going to hit the one. Because the reality is, again, think of selling is an interesting thing. It's a broader construct in that, think through when we were talking about it yesterday and some of the different things. If you're always coming from a place of service, you're going to present in a much better fashion, period. And so if you come into a room and your goal is to own the room, you're going to not purposely ignore, but you're going to miss the opportunities that are ahead of you, that are in front of you. And so when you're in a mass situation, what you're really working to do is periodic times of focus to a specific individual. So again, let's just say that there's, I don't know, pick a number. There's 10 people in front of you. There's 10,000 people in front of you. When what you really, in order to gain the know, like, and trust, and in order to really gain the trust, you have to develop a connection with the person in some way. And it's actually easier when there's less people. Because you can become more specific with your connection process. In other words, if you're in a stadium with 25,000 people, it's not like you can reach everyone. You cannot physically touch all 25,000 people. If you're in a group of 10, you can actually step off the stage, come over and put your hand on somebody's shoulder. should you choose to do that. That's what I mean by the.
Yeah.
So again, conceptually, what you have to understand is that you're there to educate the audience, and you craft your presentation in such a way that the appropriate avatar gets the appropriate information. The appropriate person sitting in that audience gets the appropriate information. Okay. And so again, but in reality, the way to think of it is think of that for this period, there might be 25,000 people here, but in this period of time, the only one I'm talking to is Jena.
Okay. I like that.
And then, maybe 5 to 8 seconds later, the only one I'm talking to is the person that's 3 rows and to the right of Jena, 3 rows behind and to the right of Jena, right? To that person. So again, because it becomes about connection. So
you're not saying like, this is not like a mental mindset, like act as if you're only talking to one person, the avatar. You're talking about literally while you're speaking. For one moment, I'm going, because I do this with my eyes.
Right.
I already know I do this with my eyes. But you're saying in the same way, it's like I'm having a conversation with person number 1. Now I'm having personal conversation with number 2. And you're going through the room and doing this.
Yeah, you never move without a purpose. In other words, you should be firmly planted in your location, and in other words, your feet should be still. You can take and turn your head. You can take and move your eyes. You can turn your head from side to side, but don't physically wander. Don't do what a lot of speakers do. I call it the box step. If you ever watch their feet, right? They're weaving back and forth, and
it looks like they're pacing on stage.
Exactly. Never move without a purpose. And because everything is a message, let's go back to lessons that we've taught multiple times ago with the communication model. 55% of the messaging that comes across in communications is physiology, is your gestures, whether you're smiling or not smiling, so if you're wandering, right, you're just doodaloo, doodaloo. It's like the message you're sending is, holy crap, I'm nervous as hell. I can't wait to get out of this place. That's actually the message you're sending, because you're so, whereas if you stand strong and you go up and you gesture and you come out and you can point, you never point like this. You point like this. That's still pointing. Yeah. But it's open palm welcoming as opposed to single finger accusatory, right? So again, to go back to, you move with a purpose. You move with a desire to share a better message. In other words, I'm going to come over to the left side, and I'm going to get more connected. People, when I did the same presentation 1,500 times, 21,557 words, people used to laugh because they go, we know what word you're going to be on the right side, and we know what statement you're going to be moved, you're going to turn and go to the left side and whatever. And you actually do get in, when you do the same presentation over and over again, you actually do get into that pattern, in your presentation. The point is, whether it's 1 or 10,000, it's always about connection. And it's always about presenting a message that serves the person you're speaking to. And if you think of it in general, if you think of it in general terms, you're going to get a general response. But if you think of it more specifically, you'll get a more specific response. So as an example, if you think back to the talk I did Tuesday at Business Growth Network, if you think about it, you probably can relate back to, there were times where I would specifically come to the left a little bit and look towards Rayanne. And then there were times where I would go and look towards Randy. And then I would look back middle to Sean. And that's done purposely.
Yeah.
Because you want everybody to feel included in the presentation. So again, if you're wandering during your presentation, it would be no different. I mean, think about how awkward it would be. Okay. You and I are sitting over coffee and I'm trying to present something to you and I'm doing this while I'm sitting here. Is that annoying?
It's interesting, and your chair is clicking. I think that's the most annoying part for me.
Well, that's my whole point. So think about that, though. If you're doing that, somebody's like, stop moving around, right? In other words, you're not connected with me in such a way that you can't keep from. It's funny because you would never do that in a one-on-one sitting at a table. Why would you do it when you're on stage? I think a lot of people think that when they go to present to the masses that this is really complex and hard. And again, I think they do that with selling in general. Oh my God, this is so hard. All of a sudden I've got to sell something.
Now I got to sell something.
It's not. What you have to do is you have to understand, Jenna, I got 47,000 different solutions that may work for you, but none of them count until we understand exactly what your problem is and what the appropriate solution might be. So before I start to present anything to you, would you mind if I ask a few questions to gain some clarity? No, that'd be great. Wouldn't it be refreshing if everybody did that? But instead, it's like, because they live in immediate gratification, me, now society, it's like, I got the urge to purge. Watch, let me tell you exactly how smart I am and how much information I have in my head that you don't care about. And all of a sudden they just start chucking information at you. If I'm the buying type that doesn't need a tremendous amount of information to make a decision, what I need to see your enthusiasm. I need to see your commitment. I need to see that you're really in this for me. Gosh, I'm just trying to think where we were the other day. I was in a situation the other day and we were just kind of observing, and somebody said, well, let me just cut to it and let me just tell you what our product's going to do for you. Blah, 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 blah.
Let me just cut to it.
Yeah, right? And so at the end, it was like, do you want to take action? And the person I was with said no. And okay, don't you know, it was the objection handling was, don't you see how much better this could be for you? Well, of course I do. Then why aren't you taking action? So you're not an action taker. Well, go ahead and say something about my mother. I mean, it's just, that's such a stupid thing to say to somebody. Anyway, obviously they didn't make the sale. The person got up, walked away. I was there with the person that was being presented to.
Now, I mean, is it calling out action takers? I mean, can you do that in a nice way?
You can do it in a very nice way.
Okay, so it's not that you can't call them out. It's that you can't do it in a derogatory way.
Think of any time where somebody goes, well, she just wasn't going to buy anyway. She's, you know, she just doesn't get it. She's not that smart, right?
Okay.
I mean, would you ever say that to anybody? and expect that to nurture and grow a relationship?
Certainly not.
Well, I mean, so that's what, again, think sales is simply the presentation of a position for somebody else to consider, allowing that person to consider and ask questions about that position, answering the questions that come to you in such a way to show them why this is potentially advantageous, them to come back and make a value comparison between what's been said to this point and yes, this will really solve my problem. And if they believe so strongly that it'll solve their problem, they'll take the action. So is it possible to say to somebody, is it possible to be nice and encourage them to take action? Yeah, but let them make that decision. So Jenna, has there ever been a situation in your life where when you first heard about something, you weren't exactly sure that it was the right course of action? Has that ever happened to you? Well, have you ever then taken the action and found it actually was the right course to take? What was the difference? What did you have to do in order to experience that? Right. You had to take the action. It's the exact same thing here. See, you can do it in a very nice way. You can do it in a non-manipulative way. All you do is call their attention to, has there ever been a time in your entire life that you've had a doubt about something? And yet you move towards that something, and after a little bit you went, that's the best thing I've ever done. You know, somebody told you about a restaurant and you go, I don't know, but then you went to that restaurant and you go, oh, that's the wow, I would have, it's now my favorite spot. I would have missed out had I not done that. It's kind of what I'm talking about here. I get you might not have all the comfort of knowing because you haven't experienced it yet. But how are you going to gain the comfort? Right. You need to know. You need to do it.
Right.
Now, we're here to hold your hand along the way. We're here to give you guidance. We've got a guarantee. You know, now the other things that lift them up in regard to comfort level, that's when you tell them about those things. So what do you think? Should we get started? It's a yes or no question at that point. And that's what I'm saying is I think that people go into it. This comes back to, again, a lot of lessons that have already been taught here over our time together. Mm-hmm. High intention, low attachment. A high intention of imparting something good, and a low attachment is to what that is, when it happens, how it happens, all those kinds of things. You know, I think that we, as presenters of different offers and different positions, we get, we get gun shy. We get jaded. We get discouraged. I mean, nobody likes to hear no. But if you're presenting a product or selling something, you're going to hear no. So right. As opposed to, I'm not suggesting that you learn to get really happy when somebody says no. I actually have one friend that teaches it that way. Oh, you know, and he celebrates no's. Okay, I'm not sure that I'm quite in that camp, but
I think at that point you're just trying to make peace with it. You're trying to take people who are so afraid of it,
right,
and make them okay with it.
Well, and yeah, that's That's true. But again, that's where a seasoned salesperson, you say no, it's like, huh, okay, well, then I have to, what piece of information was not, if you truly know how good what you have is, and you truly believe that what you have will serve the other person, it's now up to you to do a better job of creating an environment for them to want what you have. You haven't done a good enough job of creating that environment for them to want your solution. And that's kind of that, you haven't communicated the after state, which we talk about a lot with the digital marketing here.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody hasn't been able to put themselves in the place of, oh, that would be so freaking awesome. And there are certainly things that are easier to get people to put people into that state, and there are things that are maybe a little harder.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? But the point is, that's the key to this all, is how do you relate to them in such a way that they get into that place and go, well, gosh, this makes a lot of sense. Why am I not doing this? Are you kidding me? Man, I could use this. Oh, this is going to improve my life. Those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, that makes absolute sense.
And so, again, when you're presenting in mass, the thought that just came to me is an unearthed objection is still an objection. And so one of the things that you do in your presentation, or should do, is understand every potential objection you will ever receive.
And some of that comes just with doing it over and over again.
Way in advance, right?
Like when I was wanting to be an attorney, you dealt with this directly too. It was much better to bring up the bad stuff or potential bad stuff on your side before the other side got to attack it, because then you could frame it.
It's the exact same thing. So if you say, so what's the upside of not creating a funnel?
The upside of not creating a funnel?
Right.
I guess you don't have to do the work.
Yeah. And if you don't do the work and you don't have the funnel, what's going to happen?
You're going to struggle.
Pretty appropriate response. So I just have one question for you. Would you prefer struggle or lack of struggle? So you've answered. That's what I'm saying, is people work so hard at it.
But I know what a funnel does. What if somebody is in the audience and they're like, well, I'm just going to get, my business does fine enough on referrals.
Okay. Define fine enough.
It's all right. I keep busy.
Okay. Does your busyness produce profit?
Sure. I mean, I'd like more, but.
So you'd like more. I know this is a little left-handed, but do you get to spend enough time goofing off?
Yeah, I haven't taken a vacation in a while. That's where I can usually get them right there.
So would you like to?
Of course.
How are you going to accomplish that? What's your plan?
That's about where like it gets harder.
Why does it get? This is actually the I don't have
No, I
one.
mean that's what I'm saying. Like that's when I'm asking somebody how are they going to take a vacation when they're the only one running their business and they're having to do the marketing and the sales and the operations and the implementation. You ask them how they're going to take a vacation or how they're going to retire, and that's where they don't have an answer.
Okay, that's good. You've helped them realize they don't have an answer. So Jenna, I appreciate you sharing with me. I know sometimes this gets a little personal and gets a little tough. Can I share a thought with you?
Sure.
You know, I have many clients that we've had very similar conversations. And I said, I understand you don't understand everything that funnels can do for you. The good news is you don't have to, because I do. And so what we've been able to do is work together to create a common vision to build the funnels that then automate systems, which now creates mailbox money, which now means that while you're sleeping, money shows up. And guess what it also does? It shows up when you're on vacation. How about if we work at it together? See, that's the process. Is you've identified as soon as you said vacation and done it. But again, what most people, the transition there that most people maybe don't hear is the ask for permission. Is the shifting gears from gaining information to validating that information to asking for permission to provide a potential solution or thought. Jenna, can I share an idea with you?
Sure.
That's gaining permission. So that statement right there is, hey, it can be said so many different ways. Hey, I really appreciate you giving me a little foundational information about your business. You really helped me understand a lot better. Can I share a few thoughts with you?
Sure.
See, as soon as I gain your permission, you're now listening to me and listening to what I have to say because I've already asked for your permission and you've granted it. So now you listen. Whereas what most people do is, Jenna, what I hear you saying is you haven't been on a vacation in 237 years, and that sucks. So let me tell you how I fix this for people. But see, the statement, it was designed to intensify their pain, to kind of pop them in the forehead, and then present immediately. Well, because you just popped me in the forehead, I'm still pissed that you are giving me crap about not taking a vacation. I'm not listening. So now you're providing a solution, and it might even be a good solution, but the way you came at me with it is like,
you created defensiveness.
Exactly. And you don't want defensiveness, you want receptiveness.
You want receptiveness.
I want you to be
I feel like that's important.
Well, that it is. You want to deal with the objections in such a way that they want that they want to hear the information, right? They need to be receptive to the information. Jenna, I don't know for a fact that this will work for you exactly the way we plan it out. I do, however, understand that where we've put this into place, my clients have had great success. And so if you want to move towards that success, what do we have to do? Right, we have to get started. See, the other side of it is, as opposed to me telling you we have to get started, I phrase it in a question. Jenna, it seems like we're going on a really great track here. So what do you think we need to do? Right. We need to get started. See, if you say we need to get started, you believe you a whole lot more than you believe me.
Right.
And so as opposed to me saying, hey, Jenna, in order for us to do this, we need to get started. Now that's a situation where you have to consider it. But if I say to you, so what do you think we should do? I think we should get started. You know what? You're right. We should. Now all I have to do is agree with you. That's why when people, talk about all these different closing statements and all these in scripts and stuff like that, and I get all that stuff is important. At the same time, if you just treat people with dignity, honor, and respect, it's amazing what can happen. If you just have a conversation, people know what they need to do. They just, but if you are defensive, if your mother has been telling you your entire life, you'll never turn out into being whatever. And it's just, and so now you start pressing those kind of things.
That's not what you're trying to get.
Well, that's exactly it. And so again, it's not about trying to pin somebody. And I get that people flee from pain. There's not a doubt about that. Pain is a powerful motivator and whatever. But I think you can give them the opportunity to understand the pain without picking the scab. I mean, just the metaphor is gross. Why would you do that to somebody? Why would you not treat people with dignity, honor, and respect? And so again, it's how do we make it the best we can make it for somebody? Come to a mutual understanding, because again, we're not in the one-time sale business, theoretically.
No, we want them to come back.
We're in the 24/7, 365 forever relationship business. We want people to do business with us forever. The reason that you can send an email to 2 different friends and say, hey, you know what? I see amazing things in you. I see amazing things in you. When I think of the 2 of you coming together, that's super amazing. I would encourage you guys to connect. And then people go connect. Why? Because they've trusted you. You've got a relationship of trust. I've done multiple infomercials with a friend of mine. He sold $2.5 billion in infomercials. And so we were talking one day, and I just hooked him up with another group, and the meeting is happening Monday. But basically, he said, you've brought 3 winners to me, and it's always awesome to work with you. If you say I need to meet these people, you're right. I need to meet them. Okay. See, how hard is that? It's not hard if you treat people well.
Right.
Right. Over time. So again, I mean, it's treat people with dignity, honor, and respect as you're doing this. Think about their situation. Again, it comes down to think about their situation. What situation are they in? Are you simply hawking a product, or are you truly providing a solution? Put it in such a way that it is a positive choice for them. Anticipate every objection that can come through. And when you anticipate every objection that can come through, you can now answer that objection. So again, you have said this when we were sitting in your offices that one day, and you said, you've got an answer for everything. There's a reason for that. The reason is because I anticipate all those things. I've heard them before. I've been asked them before. Do I win and and secure the order 100% of the time? No, but nobody does. I do pretty good though. You know, I mean, is this all making sense?
No, it does. It's a lot to take in, and it's one of those where I think it only takes practice. There's no way you write all this stuff down, or you think about it, or you watch it, or you hear you say it, and you walk on stage and you just do it. Like, I really
True.
feel like it's one of those you pick.
So,
I mean, don't get me wrong, go over the information, but I think you purposely pick one thing to focus on, and you try to implement that the next time you speak, and maybe even the next 2 times.
As an example, when I was learning this new presentation, or that 21,557 words, I had given it probably.
You really memorized that many words straight?
Yeah.
Like, you gave it the exact same words every single time?
I was probably within 10 words. Because I had people who would watch the script when we were training them, and they would go, "That's crazy. You're within 10 words."
I've heard that's how you have to do a TED Talk. That's the only way to get a great TED Talk.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only way to do it, actually. Anybody who's worth their salt from stage, it's a script. But they've done it so many times that it doesn't feel like a script. And that's the key. So as an example, in this situation, I had done that script probably 40 or 50 times.
Yeah.
And I was at an event with Brian Tracy, and we were backstage, and I just went, "Brian, I feel like I got this thing nailed, but I'm just, it just sometimes is like I'm not there." And he said, "How many times have you given it?" And I said, "Probably 40 or 50 times now." And he just started laughing. And I said, "Why?" He said, "It takes 8 hours for every 1 hour of presentation." And I said, "So it takes 8 hours of doing it for every 1 hour of talk to become proficient, really good at it." And I said, "Well, I've certainly done it that way." He goes, wait. I'm not done. For the first 50 times. I said, "What?" For every hour of presentation, it's 8 hours times 50. It's 400 hours for every hour of presentation. So it's 800.
Say that one again?
Yeah, exactly. That's the one that, what?
Say that again?
It takes 8 hours the first 50 times for 1 hour of content delivery. It takes 400 hours to get proficient at 1 hour. That's his formula. And so if you think about it, so that's why when people sit there and go, "I don't get it." So now let's go down to a 30-second elevator presentation at a networking event.
Oh my.
It takes 8 times 30 seconds. It takes 4 minutes, 50 times. So it takes 200 minutes of doing it again and again and again and again and again.
So say that one again. 4.
Well, I mean, just do the math, right? So the percentages are the same. To really perfect that, it takes 4 minutes for every 30 seconds times 50 times. So that's 200 minutes. 200 minutes is, you're talking 3.5 hours to get a 30-second elevator pitch correct. So
and
that's
down
why,
and memorized
and down
said with
and
style
danced, and it doesn't sound bad, and I mean, it sounds right, and it does whatever. So again, that's the part that people don't, in boy, we heard it a lot for a while. It takes 10,000 hours to become an expert at anything. Where do you think these numbers come from? They come from the fact that it takes time. So that's why, again, when people say, okay, so you've done 2,500 live events, so what? Well, on one side, so what? You're right. But on the other side, it's, well, what do you think happens when you do that many? And that's why I had somebody say to me the other day, well, you've done 2,500 events. Are you any good?
Oh my gosh.
And I said, respectfully, you don't get asked back 2,500 times if you suck. I said, somebody must think it's okay. And again, without, trying to sound like a jerk or do anything, it's like, my goodness, if you've had the opportunity to stand in front of that many people that many times, there's a reason. And it's typically because somebody is receiving value for whatever you're putting out there. Right?
Right.
So again, my speaking mentor, or one of my speaking mentors, he said, let me give you the key to becoming a great speaker. I said, okay, I'm ready. He goes, speak.
I'm ready.
He goes, speak. I go, and? He goes, that's it. Speak. You've got to speak. If you want to be a great speaker, you've got to speak.
Wait, what? That can't be the secret.
It is the secret, because the only way you understand how to respond to the audience, not the only way, but
yeah,
do you understand that every time you're in front of people, if you're observant at all, if you're watching what's going on, you'll see how to become better. You'll see what they react to. It's funny because I started out, I started out my career thinking I was going to do certain kinds of talks, and then I ended up doing other kinds of talks for a while. Then now I do a lot of different things. But one of the things that I've had people say is, you're easily the funniest speaker I've ever heard. And I go, I don't set out to be funny. And I really don't. I might be goofy, and I might say unique things at certain times, but I don't set out to be funny. But when you've been in front of enough people long enough,
mm-hmm.
you understand how to exaggerate or take their reaction and grow it further, right? You get pretty quick, just because you're there, right? It's funny, a friend of mine, another speaker friend of mine, sent me a message yesterday, and I said, so what are you up to these days? And he goes, oh, here's a little video to show you. And he was at a comedy club. And I'm like, oh my God, he's trying to be a stand-up comedian. And I watched the thing and I went, he used to say that stuff in all these presentations. But what most of improv and most of what he did was responding to the audience. It was knowing how to leverage where the audience was and what they were saying, and not making fun, but leveraging their laughing or leveraging their comments or whatever. That's what he knew how to do because he was a speaker, because he had spoken so many times.
Right.
And so it was actually kind of interesting, because I had Peggy come up. I said, you got to see this. She goes, what is he doing there? And I said, I don't know. He sent me a link and I was watching it. When was he a comedian? I said, I don't know that he's ever been a comedian, but he's out there, and obviously the only thing he wants to do is have fun. And so that's what he's doing, right? And so she goes, is he any good? I said, not necessarily, but he's
Oh.
quick, you know. She goes, and I told her, she watched one of the jokes, and she goes, that was on Facebook last week. And I said, I didn't say he was original. I said he was just telling jokes. Anyway, the whole point is you learn how to leverage the audience to take them in that direction of happiness or whatever. People love to laugh. Come on, you know. I mean, think it through when you're speaking. You don't want
They
to.
do.
You don't want to just pound on the audience and you know. You want them to exactly. You don't want to just drone at them, right? So again, it comes down to how do you take the masses and help them feel like they're the only one in the room. That's really what you're working to accomplish.
To make each mass, that kind of like wraps it back around to the beginning of speaking to the one.
Yeah, I mean, it just is, you know, how can you take a content and an information that can go this way, right? Can go very wide, but make each person feel like they're the only one in the room. How do you do that? You know, and there are, you know, there are a variety of different things that you do. But again, think of it from I think the biggest key is, how would you like to feel when you leave an event if you were in their seat? Would you like to be beat on and ridiculed and made to feel small, or would you like to be made to feel bigger than life and celebrated and all that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's, you know, if you think about it now, people are so starved for community, and I think part of the reason they're starved for community is because, at least in community, people are gathered together to want to lift each other. And so they're missing. That's what I think a lot of people are missing these days, because there's so much, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't. How come you're not this? How come you're not that? How come, you know, right?
You're not a million things.
I mean, none of us are. You know, how'd you get yourself in this situation? Well, I was stupid. I mean, what do you want me to say? How did that go wrong? How did that go south? Well, there's multiple ways things can go south. You trust the wrong person, or you didn't have enough knowledge in something. I mean, we all have responsibility. The key is if we're all responsible for what's happened in our lives, good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah,
Most
absolutely.
people love to take credit for all the good stuff that's happened, and they love to blame everybody else for all the bad stuff that's happened. And the reality is, I said it in that talk the other day, stewardship is one of my core values, and it's become more intensified to me because I haven't always been the best steward of certain things. I mean, I've made mistakes, and now don't like it, don't need to stay there, don't want to stay there, right? So the only thing you can do is, once you identify you're in so that a big part of sharing a message from the stage is helping people identify where they are, and as opposed to where they want to be. What's the gap? And then how do you cross the gap or fill the gap? Right?
So how do you help them cross the gap?
Well, if they want to be a speaker, I help train them on these concepts and how to present a message in a far better way. How do you help them get from where they are to where they want to be? What is it you want to accomplish? Well, I would love to get more of my information into the hands of my audience. What that really means is they need to know how to close more sales from stage. Because if they have an audience, then they have to, okay, so now it's let me help you present it in such a way that they want to buy it. I met with an attorney yesterday, and I was showing him some ideas on how he could get more people to take advantage of his services without reducing his price. And a big part of what I do is I help people understand that if you continue to reduce price, at some point you'll either be way too busy for what you're making or you'll be out of business. So rather to maintain a fair and equitable price and provide additional value on top of it to get more people. And so that's what we were talking about. He goes, this makes all the sense in the world. Why don't people teach this? And I said, because it's easy to cut price.
Right.
I mean, that's an easy decision. It's, I think it's hilarious that, and nobody, every time I bring it up, somebody goes, oh my God, I never thought of this. But the low price leader in the marketplace, or the one who purports to be the low price leader in the marketplace, has a sister organization that has lower prices. But nobody thinks twice of it because they advertise they're the low price leader all the time. But just the way their own structure is set up, they're telling you that they don't have the lowest price.
I was actually I just made a Facebook comment about him today. We have a partner who he brags about being the most expensive option.
Exactly. That was my speaker trainer was, I'm the most expensive speaker training there is, and I'm damn well worth it.
That was Qasim's. Qasim was like, we're the best at it. We charge the most for it.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yep.
You know how I know it's 10 o'clock? I'm yawning.
Oh,
it's my body waking up. No,
that's
not
nice.
you.
That's nice. Oh, that hurts. That's going to leave a mark.
No. Not like that. Not like that. That's a lot of information. That's high impact. That's a lot to soak up. That's like yesterday. You're like rattling off stuff. I'm like, okay, let me go replay that 3 more times.
Well, and if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. I mean, the fact is, it takes a long time to learn stuff properly. It takes effort to learn stuff properly. But here's where your advantage lies. So many people are so freaking lazy. Not a value judgment. I'm just making a statement. Be the one who is committed to do more. In the short term, it'll be a pain in the butt. I'm telling you that.
Yep.
But in the long term, you'll love it. The reality is, people talk about being a 10-year overnight sensation. Well, there's a reason it took that long, because sometimes it takes that long. So, I mean, it's consistent with entrepreneurs. They sit there and say, oh God, it took forever to get this done. Well, there's a reason it took forever to get this done, because it took forever to get this done. It's okay. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
As long as along the way you're making the progress and doing the stuff, all that's good. So I encourage people to reach out. That's why people retain me as a coach, is because they need to go over this over and over and over again. And the good news is, I've gone over it over and over and over again. So I can collapse time frames for you. I can help you do it faster because we've already got the pattern. We've already got what needs to happen. That's why I go into companies and train sales forces.
That makes sense.
You take what works, right? Stop learning what doesn't work. It's crazy. Stop trying to do all this tricky crap. It's in
There's a lot of stuff out there, right?
There's a lot of stuff out there. It's unfortunate. There's almost too much stuff.
There's a lot out there. And my favorite part is some of the people who've come up with that stuff, they haven't even proven it successful. They haven't even done it themselves.
There's no doubt about it. No doubt about
it. All right. I am going to go run off to my office. I've got like 20 appointments to take.
All right.
Thank you so much, Scott. Absolutely. And I think we'll have to have you back on Tuesday, Thursday to criticize our speaking.
Not criticize, critique.
Critique.
There's a difference. There's a difference.
All right. Thank you so much
Have
for
a great weekend,
awesome
everyone.
Info, Scott. Bye, guys.